This is Deb Halfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. I'm the founder of hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy, Wellbeing Philosophy Institute, where we make clear, anti-racist, life-centric thinking about human potential. We're going to get into that. A necessary global. That'll look good. Get all sorted, because this is going down in history one way or another. Not my job to decide, but just to be aware that I'm making up all kinds of new definitions about being human. Okay, here's the deal. I've got a little new neckline going on here. Feature the necklace I purchased when I flew to Johannesburg. The long way round. Yes, that is a Ewan McGregor, Charlie Boorman reference. I was chatting. Well, very asynchronously. I was in the YouTube chat when Charlie Boorman was talking to Eddie Izzard on the treadmill today. They work together. Long way down in the chat, you'll see I like the one about Africa. I couldn't remember whether it was down or if that was my. So I knew it was a long way around, but I did the one about Africa because I couldn't remember if I just renamed it or if it was like long way round. But they got the latitude, longitude correct. Everything about evolutionary logic when it comes to understanding humans in the hunter-gatherer, migratory, like, get into our core mammaliannesses, which is no different. Skin color. These mammalian things entirely in common. Melanin means just one thing in human beings. It's the optimal latitude of the median of all your ancestors. It won't be all. There's a time dependency, so you're more recent, right? It's a complexity thing. And then you got a mom and a father, so there's like 2 lineages for your own specific, right? It's complex. But we got big data now, do we not? Like these people making like crazy apps doing shit ain't nobody even need and getting all these clicks and I don't know what they get. $9.99 a month. We can create an algorithm to really, really figure out, depending on the darkness or paleness of your skin and where you live, create the algorithm of how much vitamin D supplementation you need, which will be dependent on how much singing and dance and exercise. It's defining singing. And again, the dance is movement and the singing is speaking your truth. Emoting even, right? Okay? Just kind of emoting. Like being truthfully who you are in flow. Like what comes up and how it gets talked about and the zhuzhing I need to do. And this just I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's because it's got the, it's just, then I get a little draping. Who knew camisole straps had such potential? This is what happens when you are bioelectricity optimized. All this is having access to a much broader spectrum of my memory banks, the only riches you'll ever have, because I'm so physiologically optimized as I'm losing I'm in the last quarter. Like lost 150 pounds at 50 months after turning 50. Here we go to the final. To end up 200 pounds lighter. Okay. It's funny. I feel I'm out of sorts. I like the positioning of the camera. I don't know. There's like barely any room here on the yoga ball. But there, that did it. I don't know. I'm highly sensitive. It is an important. So we're all about whether you're black or white. Really doesn't say anything about the character. Blah, 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 blah. But there are these categories that we're ignoring. Like highly sensitive people. And 20% are physiologically sensory motivated to an extent that our society and acculturation deems abnormal. I didn't. This is how much I don't like the tags on shirts, y'all. And that's like one of the best. That it's like you don't dislike the tags on shirts. You have no idea the torture. It's torturous. And I want you and then I want you to be in your like, I'm gonna make fun of that. What a snowflake. By the way, I don't understand why that isn't like a compliment uniquely. But I want you to think about this for 1 second. How does your brain control your body? If something is here and it's not to your pleasure and it's irritating you immensely, and now the thing of my necklace, I wasn't feeling it, but now that I know it's attached and I'm gonna have to end up losing some hair when I unhinge this. And now, shoot. Now, it got hooked. Do you see what my life is like? I don't know. Do you people live with things like your necklace pulling your hair? Okay. I love this necklace. But it does not go with this hairstyle. It did until I got all up in my movement. Or maybe I just want to take my hair down for you. That could also be. So I got powers. Oh, I got powers. There was a little Medusa going on there, was there not? Nearly 52. Alrighty. I'm going to stop practicing my performer, hashtag redheaded she-hog, for a minute, and get super serious as she Sherlock of human health. And this is me being she Socrates. It's a philosophical hypothesis to disrupt the erroneous way we think about mental health. First and foremost, there are no one ways to be mentally healthy. 7.8. billion ways to be mentally healthy. Grok this. I want you to grok this. I do enjoy using the paleo term. Understand this. I'm gonna have to beat you over the head with a club. Evolution, everything we think we know, if you can't tell a good evolutionary story about it, it's marketing. I'm here to tell you. In the arena of human health, we're being sold bills of goods instead of having knowledge shared with us from these expert doctors. They're just there to be mechanics of the body. You give a relatively non-understandable, you use English. You could actually give a better, you could act out your symptoms. You might actually get a much better diagnosis, especially in the 7.5 minutes of the whole managed disaster care model. Don't just flip a switch. Well, not well. It's a crescendo. It's a period of evolution. It's a period when things go wrong. Your body sends you a million texts, but you ignore them, and then the symptoms go to such a degree, it dials up until you can't ignore the symptoms. People who we are calling mentally ill, and this is a broad philosophical hypothesis, are highly sensitive people, some actually really part of that demographic, or people who aren't. This is so if you've always been highly sensitive, you're probably a very high functioning, whatever it is you think's wrong with you. You've been aware of this, you've been dealing with it, you don't know how to fix your problem. The people who go cray-cray, the people who can't are the people who have been relatively, there's in everything in evolution, the 80-20 rule. Except it's not. There's no one way, but there's the bulk of the population. We usually think about this in a vertical matrix, do we not? 80 at the bottom, 20 at the top. We don't even think of it the reverse, the bottom 20 and the top 80. We're so patriarchally, hierarchically attuned into 100 being, the elitism of that, and the 100 pennies in a dollar situation. Like in other countries, they're coins in their currency. In America, it's pennies to $1. That switch from carrying that around, it's so primal in the way we operate as far as judging. Evolution doesn't use the vertical. She, Ms. Evolution, always likes to look at things horizontally. So you got your breeders in the middle of the 80. You got 10% over here and 10% over here. Of course, you never have it. It's sometimes. Take skin color. You got your everyone. And then you've got your equatorial hued people over here and your Arctic hued people over here. No way 10-10. So we evolved at the equator. So it's like 1% Arctic hued. Very few humans are Arctic adapted. Very few humans have this pale of skin. but I'm 2/3 African. Let me tell you something. Red hair and freckles, these are early adaptations that occurred in humans before any single one of us ever migrated off the continent of Africa, where all humanity originated, where great civilizations existed, or else you wouldn't exist. Do not ever, ever, ever judge another person until you've figured out how to not judge yourself. And then, and only then, do you not judge for punishment. You judge for reconciliation. Equatorial hued skin. So, I'm taking down mental illness. Here's a question for you. U.S. of Hypocrisy has a citizenry medicated to the fucking gills. ADHD, depression, serotonin, but we shut down all the psychiatric hospitals. Inpatient. We've seen the scenes, we watch the media. I want you to think about those people in the inmate psychiatric hospital sense and understand all they're doing is demonstrating behaviors of being hypersensitive. But what are you hypersensitive to? The environment, outside the person. We're trying to say that the person's mind is wrong when they're being that wrongness, or that non-standardness is how I would call it, is accurately talking about environmental toxins, poisons, situational social interactions that are that threatening. The inmate psychiatric hospital people, I know you've got the melodrama picture of it, but just pull away from that for 1 second. These are highly traumatized people, physiologically. It's not in their heads. And what really gets you going is you're trying to explain this to somebody else, and then you get a diagnosis. You've got this, and this is mental illness. Again, what's normal mental health? 7.8 billion of us with a unique brain and body and a whole set of life experiences, some for 10 years, some for 50 years. The matrix that we need to get to find an accurate cohort of humans who may be alike in some way. You're all alike? And again, all this pharma stuff has not been tested in any kind of adequate way. We're all talking about, if I'm taking down mental illness, I got to take down this double-blind clinical trial. In the R&D stage, I get some of this, but this obsession with isolating so many variables, you can do that in science for stuff, because stuff doesn't really do things until people design experiments to see what stuff does. I understand there's a solar system and it is moving around to the way you understand it. There is another way to understand it. Not that it's not moving around. what force is responsible for the moving around, I'm certainly going to disagree on. I mean electricity, electromagnetic. It's an electromagnetic universe. And electricity and magnetism I have to go. They are primary, informational, because of the speed of electricity. It's the primary information data packet moving around. Electricity begets chemical interactions. And magnetism organizes electricity, which begets chemical, and then mechanical. Because I always sort of thought mechanical mechanical is pretty cool. So you can't really hierarchy out the forces. What you can say is the speed of chemistry is far slower in the human body. Let's just stick there because there are some chemical explosions. We can set up so many experiments with stuff that we don't have to worry about killing. But in the human body, the speed of chemistry is far slower. Far slower. And so is the speed of, gravity-assisted, digestion that just moves, way down there in your tract. There's not a lot happening except gravity. It's going that slow, so all the nutrients, portals after portals of nutrients entering your bloodstream through your intestines. And every one of the enemies to get on the of our intestines. That'll come up somewhere. That'll come up everywhere. That's a bit. And the forces are the forces are the forces. Back to mental health. Because again, I can go on and on. I got another hour. It's 23. Of course, I got one more hour if I want. But I want to get concise here. Make sure we are entirely on the same page with this. I'm disrupting mental illness right here, right now. All of it. At the foundational philosophical hypothesis level. Then somebody's going to have to come in to all the different things, with all the different pharmas, with all the different diagnoses, and do research. Can we reverse this? How do we do this? Everything I'm going to say is trauma informed and based off of experiential childhood neglect. Why I popped back here for this Deuxieme performance. I'm in the scene where the healer at the posh spa that Vera goes to lose weight. So she don't have to exercise with the rest of the coppers. There was a shot now if I was going to exercise, it was not going to be where I will be seen. That so much neglect. So much avoiding being seen while being the largest person in the room. Comfortable enough, it wasn't so much I didn't want to be seen in my case. Not in the way you think. It was that I wasn't being heard. Nobody was really seeing in any way, embodied or visually. I got no back to me. Nobody to have an intellectual volley with. Nobody who's like, she's triangulating everything. She's never wrong. Until she goes, oh, I was wrong. And let me tell you why. And here's how I fixed that wrongness. So if I'm going, I'm right, I'm right. I won't go, I'm right if I'm not. I'm talking and I'm going. I'm not gonna, I have to know it. This is coming from somewhere, and it's all coming from what I've read and listened to my whole life, and what's stored in my memory banks, and how well it's stored. This is the thing. I've been hashtagging for a long time. These all belong here and there. Every piece of new data. Not the stuff that just bounces off of me, but new data have a world. I am field dependent. I call it a world. It's worlding is a concept by the philosopher Martin Heidegger when he was talking about how do we know what an artwork is, especially from Andy Warhol on, where he just picked a normal object in the world, a Campbell soup can, and stuck it on a pedestal in an art gallery, and it was art. And there was nothing done to it at all. He would just pick up the soup can or the Brillo box also and bring it into the art gallery, call it art, get paid money. So he's probably putting a quarter on a counter for a can of soup. In the 70s, it's probably not even a quarter, yo. I think I remember getting 10 cans of soup for $1. I bet it was in my lifetime I got 10 cans of Campbell soup for $1. Right. So the world costs too much. And in a curious way, because we have far too much stuff, is why everything costs so much. So she Einstein, she Sherlock, she Socrates. She Buddha? Zen cone wise? Now mine are Nietzschean Zen cones, right? I can fiercely, in the Zen cone, it's really, spiritual. Sorry, it took me so long to hit that word, but that's my life. Because I'm logical. So my Zen cones, we can unpack and I can just dial down and explain to you the layers and layers of why I mean what I say, where my valid premises are. So, I was Buddhicized, is what I'm saying. And I know why the Buddha's fat. Shouldn't the Buddha not be fat? I mean, he was off in a cave for quite some time. Very, very, very long ago. Pre-refrigerator Perry. Yes, I can do football references occasionally. During the Steelers' heyday, because I am from Pittsburgh. Ish. So, don't test me. Andy Warhol, of course, is from Pittsburgh. And the largest first, now everything largest, I'll get up. But the very first very first single artist museum in the US was the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. Curiously enough, on the north side, like right near, I guess it's Heinz Field now, Three River Stadium being in the point, no longer. I mean, not in the point, but closer down to the point. I knew what I meant because I'm in Warhol Museum and then new baseball. I don't remember. I don't remember them. Yeah, I don't remember. So my mom and for baseball, my grandma, I did go to one Steelers game, just one, and then more baseball games because my grandma liked baseball. So we hit the Pirates a few times. That's why it's why it's hard. It's strange that it doesn't compute what happened. But once I was in college, I didn't go. Who college student has money to be paying for professional sports tickets? I mean, if there'd been a basketball team in Pittsburgh, that had happened. Solomon Rucker at Duquesne once. Okay. There's your Tyler Perry refrigerator reference. That's how I needed to wrap that bit all up in a bow. Mental health. My very first job, not like fast food or at Kaufman's, retail, not like side gig college. My very first job after finishing college was at People's Oakland. It was a community mental health organization. Got funding from the county, from the city. It was basically the adjunct of Western Psych. My boss was an MSW from Carnegie Mellon, of course. And she ran the organization and got funding. And I showed up as a temp once. And the administrative assistant really liked me because I set up her whole Quicken from scratch. Of course I did. I was about to become able to run 10,000 people payrolls on PeopleSoft. Still could to this day, by the way. And so I set up her whole Quicken, and then she got a job with the county, a government job versus a community organization. So she took it. And she recommended that I be the sole administrative organization. I was the COO, let me tell you. And I don't know how long I temped. A month, 6 weeks. All of a sudden I'm COO, which by the way is what I need to do. Like I don't know, this whole operations admin. Can't be told what to do. I can't be told what to do. That's been the problem all along. And just let's keep this all. Pull the frame. I'll do the director's commentary right now. I am playing the role of somebody learning to be a performer. Learning to just do stand-up, to explain my story and explain human potential. Because every human has human potential in them. And we're constantly seeing it in this whole achievement realm. You can be a world-class philosopher, human health, using bleeding-edge science, understood philosophically, to the point that math is a tool. That you can, math is dead, says Nietzsche. Now, Nietzsche himself, of course, said God is dead. The teacher of my teacher at Carnegie Mellon, I studied philosophy, degree philosopher in Carnegie Mellon. I studied aesthetics. And the focus of my aesthetics, the philosophy of beauty degree, was Andy Warhol's Brillo boxes and soup cans. It is a fascinating, how does an object in the world become art? Especially when it is an object in the world. Art becomes philosophy. Now, every artist, no matter what you're seeing or what's going on, but they all have the story about its creation, what they were trying to achieve, where their head was at, how much they were into the new media of it all, collaging instead of so, Nietzsche said God is dead, and basically, like, humanity just doesn't need religion anymore. We've evolved so far. This was thought in the late 1800s. I mean, I would concur with the art is dead. I mean, that's what I spent my college career obsessed with, sort of playing around in. And the art is dead. Of course, a whole monologue I can do about how that ends racism. It's about the superficiality. Do not argue with yourself. When you are in flow, creative flow, man, I didn't even catch that. Superficiality. Superficiality of superiority. Superficiality. Is this thing, this problem of humans in our evolution. We don't trust our body. And what that means is, our innate intelligence, and information we get from our nose and from our ears, smell and sound, is that reptilian and mammalian layer of our brain, which is older and functions very instinctually. And we got the cortex and all kinds of great stuff going on. And our eyesight goes straight to the back of our skull and wires all up through the cortex. Sight is sort of like the post and beam of our mental building. It's so foundational. We don't see how sight really binds us. Because we're looking at stuff in the world, and stuff doesn't do stuff without a lot of human interaction. We see things, and things don't do things without human interaction. And so we go, that can't happen. Well, we could input a different kind of human interaction. All sorts of human interactions. Inventing. Okay? So when we see and have sight, and sight is this sense that dominates the newer part of our brain. Yeah, it's much more powerful. It's this part that it's really, really great, but it's also newer. You can have there's still some work being done as our consciousness evolves. And I've lost my train of thought ever so slightly. It might be that I need to follow a tangent. It might be I went off on a tangent and I'm backtracking. I'm not really sure. But so how I'll catch this track again of where did my train of thought go? I get this from Boyd Varty of Lon Delosey fame, the name of the movie I'm going to create. And so he was just on with Aubrey and the podcast, and he was talking about tracking, and the last viable track for me is superficiality. Yeah, so I was talking about Warhol, Brillo boxes, tomato soup cans, valuing something just on the basis of what you see, not understanding its essence is a problem with racism. Skin color doesn't tell you anything about a person's character, their heart, their mind, their dreams, their bank account. It tells you nothing. The color of their skin, except for the optimal latitude, where their bioelectricity just naturally flows so strong because they're getting as much sunlight as they need. So, racism is idiocy. Skin talks about how much sunlight we need. The density of melanin talks about how much sunlight we need. That's really it. There is some complexity. Getting an intense burst of sunshine versus, Arctic levels of sunshine, then have a number of cascading effects, right? So this is the part where, in the use of hypocrisy, we know African Americans have a lot more adverse incomes out. They have adverse incomes and a lot worse adverse outcomes as well. And they have the adverse outcomes because of the adverse incomes. Oh, I like that. That goes places. That flub. Do you see what I'm saying? Don't test yourself. Don't test me. I don't know that yourself can operate like this without the training wheels. Don't test Deb. For yourself, stop interrupting yourself. Don't let society make you upset about a flub. A flub is like your brain shifted gears, but your mouth didn't catch up. Speed of chemistry, speed of mechanical functioning. There's a speed of mechanical functioning. The brain can shift faster because that's electricity. The speed of electricity, heartbreak, onto your whole biofield. Because, you see why I say don't test me? I said that a little while ago. Now I'm explaining it with a thorough story of evolutionary logic. Flubs, which is the missaying a word. I don't know percentage. Give me 80-20. 80 and 20. Flubbing, saying a word, is a shift, an asynchronous shift. Your brain is going faster than your mouth can keep up. The difference between the speed of thought and the speed of the mechanical capacity of your own mouth. I mean, I'm fast talking over here. I'm fast talking on the cannabis. I'm fast talking, and I know you're sort of like, this is. I don't need to give you English. You know what's going on here. I'm a yoga ball. Urban Cowboy, John Travolta. I wanted to. I was like, no, I won't throw that out there. It's gonna come back. Watch it come back. It's coming back. 44:38. We'll do a time check next time we get once the Urban Cowboy Travolta. What I was gonna do there is just move on some Travolta-nesses. But I'm not even gonna 6 degree of separation. I'm going to just let it arise naturally. I don't know what it is. I know it'll come. You can see how certain I am it's going to come. I'm drawing out the tension. Stand-up philosopher. I don't got the joke so much because this is a light bulb. I pull this off. And you just start going, oh, or shock. When you start going, oh, I'm getting her, I'm following her, you got to keep up with the syntax of how I do this and the logic of it all. And then you really will start horseshacking. I'll guarantee it. 45, 43. I don't do math out loud. That part of my brain is offline. I can make synchronicities happen. Okay? I truly can. And point out something, and then it occurred, and then there's another reason. And having explained flubbing, just a little awkwardness saying something. As your brain shifting gears quickly, and then your mouth not shifting. And then I poured that into I have not tried to imitate Horseshack. Washington. No, I don't think I could do Washington either. I'm not good in the imitation. Not yet. It may just come online. This is how I get all this functionality in my second childhood. It just happened. There are some things, something like complex like singing. I practice, I sing to myself. I'm obviously, right now, doing a stand-up philosophical improv to myself with the container that this is very much for posterity and an audience. Because I'm changing the definition of mental illness. Little. Simply for the degree of difficulty. If there should be Prosecco involved, frameworking the question, getting to the question. Is there something foundational, philosophical, using evolutionary logic, that unites all mental illness? And it is being highly sensitive. In the inmate level, psychiatric is being hypersensitive. Probably to many, all your sensory. You are so fearful about something. You go into psychological, physiological freeze and depression, or you end up in various spurts of fight and flight and dissociation. And rocking and pounding and banging and all this stuff. And then we go straight to Robin Williams. I'm a 6 degrees of separation, knew that. So I'm thinking about the psychiatric hospital. No, I'm not thinking Nicholson, and we don't go over the cuckoo's nest. I go to Awakenings. Oliver Sacks written bio-documentary. Medi-doc. Directed by Penny Marshall. With Bob De Niro doing fabulous. What a performance. And then Robin Williams is a doctor, Oliver himself. It wasn't even 6, was it? I even nodded you. Made sure you didn't accidentally go over the cuckoo's nest. I mean, but I lived. Here's another 6 degrees of separation you won't see coming. Renee Elise Goldsberry lived in the same dorm with me. So my senior year at Carnegie Mellon, Randy Warhol. Math is dead. Deb Alford's just the one who gets to kill it. It's a tool. It's great. It's numbers. Of course it's dead. I've now jumped the shark. In that 1 + 1 = 3. So in that sequence from God is dead, art is dead, to math is dead. Math is quite literally dead. In a way that God may or may not be. I mean, that's the question. And art mostly is dead, but not entirely. There's performance art. There's dance. There's singing. Again, again, again. Just because we're talking about Warhol, don't keep your mind just on a painting. So, from mostly considered to be human to, because again, singing and dance, the art is a human being. It's not this again, right? It's the actual process of being human that is singing and dancing. This is foundationally how humans stayed healthy in Africa. And I've created a global symposium to unite African, Eastern, and Western approaches to do-it-yourself healthcare. Sponsor. It is a fucking shame that somebody who can create such understanding in the world had to go bankrupt and be scared for her life financially at the point when she is achieving so much human potential outcomes and really with having an extraordinary exponential opportunity. And I'm learning to express myself with such precision. And I mean, this theory of everything is, I'm telling you, crucial. I'm gonna be really pissed. I'm gonna be really, really pissed. Oh, but you know, I need to rely on y'all. I've sorted this out. That's what we keep an eye on. Keep an eye on the time. I've sorted this. So we lost the track. There were some emotions there. I brought up fear. Now see, I might have to go all the way back to the tomato soup can. Like that's our breadcrumb, our Brillo pad. It's our breadcrumb in this Hannah Gadsby. Girl, don't test me. And what it takes is to get my own Netflix special is to break out the art history. Break out the philosophy of art history. Not compete with you. Parallel. You go, you talk about the paintings. You go. Cool. I mean, I talk about my painting from my best friend from Carnegie Mellon, Joy L. Johnson. Africa always had my back. I don't think I 6 degreed you to Renee. She's in Hamilton with Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was in the episode of House, Laurie's house, Omar Epps' house. Episode of House that was the homage to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's why. And then I assessed, well, I mean, I already talked about Lamont. I talked about the two actor musical. I might as well talk about Troy. Permission to talk about Troy, the other two. But they won't, I mean, again, no one, how could you not remember me from Carnegie Mellon? Renee and I were like acquaintance friendly. Lamont and I were pals. I'm just, I'm not bringing them up just cause. They come up because they're part of the popular lexicon. So like in 6 degrees of separation, I might need for all that 1 degree of separation to Will Smith. Is the actual 6 degrees of separation. Troy grew up around the hood. Jada Holler. Girls Trip 3. Oh, please 1 + 1 = 3. Jada Holler, man. Oh, lady, gotta get rid of some of this stuff. I'm also having trouble with fellow. I mean, I'm all the she's Socrates and everything. Like all this fellow philosopher is not cutting it. Fellow film director. Oh, shoot. Yeah, then I went off on a tangent you don't need to know. It's like grocery list. Kind of important one though, because the schedule for had a Zoom interview, a little podcasting publicity thing with a younger kid. It was supposed to be about LinkedIn, but he had also done an entertainment blog just to get to know him. And Girls Trip 2 there was an article about and then we had tech problems when it was scheduled. Then my electricity went out for 2 days, and I've been like, I can't type. What happened in the cold stress now is the financial stress. I can't. You see how I go on. I can't type, and when I do type, it's so complex. Like other people aren't going to understand it. It takes me forever to edit it. It's like a waste. It's too much extra time when I can do this. But then I send back to the kid, then he'd have to, and even if I was thinking, okay, well, I know I can take the transcript out, so I could send him back the transcript. But I'm like, oh, poor guy. And kid, he might be 49. It was just more, this is all about my sensitivity. Sort of wanting there to be nothing about like, hounding me or it's obligation or anything. Just yeah. But he is younger. Like the entertainment blog and the time frames on his LinkedIn profile resume wise. So, I know he's what I call a kid. But I'm just trying to say we get ourselves all balled up in explaining this and explaining that. Because one of y'all chorus members piped up, is it being slightly condescending to this guy? Well, the other person isn't my drama. Being brief. My drama has to come out. So, mental illness. And that's quite literally, I feel, I know, that was quite literally 1 hour. You know, get the tension, bring it down. Other people who needed a bio break. And in fact, if I had water, I'd go get a drink. How many times do I have so many options for water? And right now, I literally don't. This is posterity, world changing. Oops, it's parched it all, and I might start, hacking up an esophagus. Saliva break. I don't know if that was annoying. We've been recording for an hour. I got to hit the plug. I do like the magnetic plugs on the MacBook. It's a physical instrument, well designed. I don't get the software at all, at any level. I really don't. Important point. I am smarter than Einstein, having solved the biggest blunder he had in his career. 6 degrees of separation, not for you. Recent article, and somewhere else I triangulated the publications that might be in. I don't really remember. That was the title of the article, Einstein's biggest blunder. Einstein's biggest blunder, and it was not having any good explanation for why the universe is expanding. And ended up with dark matter. String theory. Multiple universes. Holy mackerel. Science bought and paid for by J.K. Rowling these days? Is it all fantasy? I mean, that is a good joke. Please don't not see that. Everything we know about pet food nutrition is paid for by, I'm not getting sued. Pick your dog food brand that just commercial pops right out. Everything we know about feeding our dogs is paid for by the dog food industry. Veterinarians are educated by the dog food industry. Paid for, subsidized. And the studies that they consult, who's paying for pet food studies? The NIH, the Canine, CIH, Canine Institute of Health, the pet food industry. And it's very similar for nutritionists in humans. It's nowhere near like the monopoly. Basically everything veterinarians know about canine nutrition is paid for by the pet food industry. Again, be 80 or 20. I don't know which one, but it's the same in human health. And that's why we're talking about mental health. We're talking about this concept of diagnoses. With mental health, it's not so clear who's the agenda, who's paying for such heinous misevaluation of mental health. It's simply like a unintentional error of the most gross harm imaginable. Physical health again, I just went far into establishing we're all the same physiologically. We're on continuums. There are different models, but the overall functioning of the structure of the forces in it's similar. The frame of the body and the processes are all the same. What's different is each individual life based on experiences and geolocation, the environment of that person, and all of their inputs determine their outputs. Oh, we almost froze. That would have really upset me. Mental health. It is a dialed up sensitivity to some environmental trigger, some non-optimal environmental trigger that creates some not so non-optimal intensity of anxiety or fear. And let's just stick with fear. So much fear that the person's normal life is taken over. Whether that's needing to sleep all the time, hibernation. I might have started singing some Prince to you. From Emancipation. The 3D set of Emancipation, that has been my pandemic desert island. Prince and Maxwell. But really, I really have stuck to Emancipation. So the Maxwell I have, from Urban Hang Suite, Black Summer's Night. Now, they just did in the CD player. I don't really look at like the titles of anything, and good example of what do I need to know. The browner couple one. Urban Hang Suite is blue. Looking at what the CD looked like, trying to geolocate into more absolute certainty. Also push you away, but I won't, because we just plugged you in. Complete utter random detail so that it's here in my operating memory. So I'll go get to the CDs. The Bose is right over there. Work for Bose. Yes, I did. Early 90s. Before I was like, I don't belong here. And went back to DC. Got a temp job at the Inter-American Development Bank. Palling around with people in the Caribbean now. And Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, where I would like to go. Taking advantage of her brilliant remote worker visa. And she had recently, there was a video sponsored by the IDB that just really got a vision for the Nation 3.0. Really skip a stage and create a nation that really cares about all its people and all the visitors within on their island. All people, all of them. Really, 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 really. I'm gonna go to Barbados. Finish off losing the rest of this weight. Get my performer gorgeousness on. have I explained that mental health is not it's just not valid. The way we think of it is not valid. Mental health, because this individual brain is like yours, and it is not wired because of different experiences like anyone else's, and different eating habits and different grooming. So mental health being about our brain, and we're all entirely not the same. Trying to diagnose everyone. This is depression, and this is mania, and this is normal. It's ludicrous. It's sort of like, here I will go. It's like 95% of us, and then 5% of us. And that 5% are still going to be environmental, not personal, not individual. What these whole constellation of conditions are being highly sensitive. In a modern world that thinks that trusting your body in its multivarious alarms is the worst thing you can do. Our culture's done that to this. So you become mentally ill when you can't, your body keeps telling you this is wrong, and you're like, but I gotta go to work at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Your body's saying, but I need 3 to 5 days of rest right now. And you're like, no, I got to punch the time clock tomorrow morning. Sleep is how we repair. Sleep is how we fix illness. So the prescription is get more sleep, not take 2 placebo pills. It's the period between talking to me right now and calling me again. That's the placebo effect, sleep. Sleep is a placebo tool. There are others that can fine tune in, because again, if the body will fix it all. No questions asked, really. Sleep long enough. I've been a lifelong hibernator. I tell you what, just about everything. Now, all that certainty is if we could just operate as ancestral humans and get rid of all of the current Western medicine, measurement men, mechanical obsession. This wrong framework. We're not machines or widgets. Math of life is 1 + 1 = 3. And our brains are all individual and unique, so we diagnosis as a standard normal is a ludicrous concept. And the solution to mental illness, besides getting our definitions right and using evolutionary logic to understand it, is that all of that behavior that scares us, it scares us. People who are inmate level psychiatric hospital bound, whether they're like, zombie, they're like, no. Whichever end of the spectrum they're on, they're highly fearful, and their body wants to sleep so desperately that it is trying to control the things that's keeping it from sleeping. But we don't frame the question like that, so we betray our bodies. So our bodies turn up the behavior because they have to be getting the rest and the safety and the good nutrition and the optimal hydration. You know, these basic needs, somewhere in just these basic needs, things have gotten so out of whack that your body is just freaking out, completely freaking out. It has not, then you're sort of forced to tell a story about it, but the story is distorted because you never reference all of the distress in your body. You reference the distress that society feels because you're not being standard. Everyone who's being standard is acting. They are subjugating their own nature. And they're just mimicking what they think is going to get them mostly money. In this culture, there's just nothing in the US of hypocrisy. It's as important as money. That's our crucial downfall. So, the way we fix mental illness is to fix our environment. Yes, everything is interconnected. Everything is a holistic interweaving of life on one planet Earth. All Homo sapiens of every skin color are pricelessly precious. Harmony, y'all.